Sky News goes inside Tehran's notorious Evin prison, targeted by Israel during last month's conflict.
We've been brought to one of the most secret places in Iran, somewhere we'd never be allowed anywhere near normally, let alone film. As you can see, sign up there above that guard post, no photo.
Former Arsenal footballer Thomas Partey is charged with 5 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. Waves of drone and missile attacks target Ukraine in the biggest Russian aerial assault of the war. The family of Diogo Jota arrive at a church in Portugal after the footballer and his brother were killed in a car crash. It's good to be back. Oasis take to the stage for the first time in 16 years as their comeback tour gets underway in Cardiff. And we'll take a first look at tomorrow's front pages in our press preview from 10:30 right through to midnight. Good evening. Sky News has witnessed the scale of destruction caused by Israeli airstrikes at a notorious prison in Iran during the recent conflicts between the two countries. Israel launched several strikes on the Evin prison complex in Tehran the day before a ceasefire was reached. Iranian authorities say 71 people were killed. Our international affairs editor, Dominic Waghorn, is one of the few journalists to gain access to Evin prison and sent us this report.
In northern Tehran, we're on our way to a place synonymous with fear and the power of the Iranian state. But that was no protection from Israel's warplanes.
We've been brought to one of the most secret places in Iran, a place that you would never be allowed to film. And normally, as you can see up there, signs saying no photo above this guard position, because these are the gates to the notorious Evin prison. For the Iranian government's critics, this is a symbol like no other of its oppression of its people. But they brought us here because what Israel did to it during its 12-day offensive on Iran, dropping 8 rockets, we're told, on the entrance to the prison, flattening these buildings. We've been further in, and they have done enormous damage here to this sort of entrance compound.
This was a rare glimpse into one of Iran's darkest corners. Allowed inside walls that have kept so many incarcerated.
It is quite extraordinary being in this place, somewhere where foreign journalists are never normally allowed to venture, and yet we've been invited in, and we've just driven along the inside of its outer wall with the barbed wire and watchtowers looming above us.
We were among only a handful of journalists given access. The Iranians wanted us to know that Israel's airstrikes killed more than 70 people here. The missiles came in at midday, when these buildings were full of people during visiting hours. There was enormous damage, much more than was thought at the time.
It's hard to second-guess what the Israelis were trying to achieve with their attack, but they have breached the outer security perimeter of the jail compound in at least 2 places, the gate and also here outside what we're told is the visitor centre. But the jail itself up there on the hill remains intact.
This is where Iran's government keeps its opponents and dissidents and foreign nationals. Britain's Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe was locked up here for more than 5 years. Human rights groups say abuse, torture and executions are commonplace. We could see what our guides wanted us to, more devastation at the prison hospital, where the missile shockwaves blasted in the windows on every floor. In room after room, medical equipment and beds destroyed. And there were areas we weren't allowed to film. It wasn't clear why. For the Iranians, this is proof Israel hit civilian targets. But our visit here was also a reminder of their government's excesses against its own people, who remain locked up in this infamous jail. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News, Evin Prison, Tehran.
And a developing story from the Middle East tonight. Hamas says it views the latest Gaza ceasefire proposal positively, but more talks are needed on how to implement it. The The sticking points appear to remain around issues including aid, the presence of Israeli troops in Gaza, and options to extend the truce beyond an initial 60 days. The United States has been brokering the deal, which President Donald Trump says is a final proposal. The former Arsenal footballer Thomas Partey has been charged with 5 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. The incidents are alleged to have taken place between 2021 and 2022. Sky's Oliver Whitfield-Močić is here with more details on the story. And what more do we know?
So this relates to 3 women who made criminal complaints against Thomas Partey. He's the 32-year-old Ghanaian international who's been playing for Arsenal up until Monday, which is when his contract ran out. There are 5 counts being laid against him by the Metropolitan Police as authorised by the CPS in relation to rape. That means that these women are alleging that they have been raped multiple times. And then there is the 1 count of sexual assault. Now, we've had a statement from Detective Superintendent Andy Firthy, whose team is leading this investigation from the Met. He says, our priority remains providing support to the women who have come forward. We would ask anyone who's been impacted by this case or anyone who has information to speak with our team. Now, Partey was first arrested back in July 2022. He was allowed to continue playing for the club, and the police didn't name him at the time, even though there was quite a lot of speculation, both online and in stadiums right across the country wherever he played. It's important to note that the player has said that he's completely innocent. He's denying all of the charges against him. He's saying he's cooperating with the police, and he's now looking forward to his day in court so that he can defend his name. That first court appearance we're expecting will take place next month at Westminster Magistrates Court. OK,
Oliver, thank you for that update. Russia has carried out its largest aerial assault on Ukraine since the start of its invasion more than 3 years ago. Waves of drone and missile attacks targeted Kiev and other cities. At least 1 person was killed. Sky's Siobhan Robbins reports.
It was night when the drones struck. Swarms of hundreds, leaving a trail of flames and misery. Ukrainian fire crews did what they could, but this was the biggest aerial attack since the war began. Explosions lighting up Kiev's skyline as Russia hammered Ukraine with missiles and drones. At first, the explosions weren't that powerful, Ruslan says. But then there was a very strong one, and all the glass shattered. I saw everything was on fire. People tried to put it out, but it was in vain. The daylight revealed the extent of the damage. One of these charred cars is Ruslan's. But others have lost their homes. And while Thursday's drone attack was the biggest, it's not the first. Russia has been ramping up its aerial assaults since June, trying to wear its opponent down. And it seems Thursday's attack was being planned even as Donald Trump called to press Putin for peace. The president who claimed he could end the fighting in 24 hours, now admitting he doesn't think the Kremlin wants the war to stop.
I don't think he's there, and I'm very disappointed. Well, it's not, I'm just saying, I don't think he's looking to stop, and that's too bad.
The Kremlin seemed to agree with Trump's assessment that this fight will continue.
During the conversation, President Putin repeated that we are interested in achieving the goals of the special military operation and that it is preferable to do this through political and diplomatic means. But since this is not possible yet, we are continuing our special military operation.
But as Moscow's resolve hardens, some fear Washington's is weakening. Worried about its own stocks, the US paused some weapons deliveries to Ukraine, another boost for Russia.
not only does it starve Ukraine of the weapons they're going to need, it also opens up a deep fissure between the United States and the other European allies. And that is a fundamental Russian objective. So this is very, very welcome news from Russia's point of view.
Proving it isn't beaten yet, Ukraine launched its own drone strikes overnight. Following a call with Donald Trump, President Zelensky said they were working together on air defences to protect from future Russian attacks. But by bombarding cities, Moscow is playing the long game, testing just how long Ukraine and its allies can hold out. Siobhan Robbins, Sky News.
Family, friends and football fans around the world have been paying tribute to Liverpool forward Diogo Jota and his brother Andre after they were killed in a car crash in northern Spain. Their bodies have now been brought back to Portugal for a wake in their hometown near Porto. Our sports correspondent Rob Harris reports from Gondomar in Portugal.
Gondomar is grieving. Through the day, the crowds grew. In the shirts of Liverpool, Wolves and Portugal. Fans came to honour the memory of Diogo Jota. Their pride in the local boy turned star striker, now in unimaginable pain. Sharing in a family's heartache. Just 2 weeks after marrying Jota, Ruth Cardoso now leading mourners at his wake. A father who lost both sons on a night of tragedy. Andre Silva was killed alongside Jota when their Lamborghini burst into flames on a Spanish motorway. The younger brother was also a footballer in Portugal's second division. Both once playing for the region's biggest club, Porto. Their president, former Chelsea and Tottenham manager Andre Villas-Boas, talking to Sky News after paying his respects.
I think this crowd, this community says about what Andre, what Diogo meant to Portugal and particularly to this community and to Porto.
Well, I think they were silent heroes. People that represent the best outside of football and in football. We lose two great boys, but the family loses a lot more, and we hope that they can overcome the pain.
Jota had just enjoyed his greatest days in football, winning the Nations League with Portugal and Premier League title with Liverpool. Former teammate Fabinho flew in, and holidaying fans came too.
It's a huge shock. It's terrible for everybody involved, particularly his family. The thoughts go to his wife and his children, his poor mother, the whole family. A shock for the whole footballing community, obviously a shock for Liverpool fans because we revered Diogo as one of the best finishers in the Premier League, and he's won so many trophies with Liverpool in his time. He was just a great player, and it's a terrible shame.
A family is in mourning, but a community is grieving too. So many have turned out in 30-degree heat, wanting to pay tribute in person to the footballing brothers who meant so much to Portugal and particularly this community in Gondomar.
The focus of a nation where football dominates life will be here tomorrow for the funeral celebrating talented brothers whose lives were cut short in their prime.
Well, our sports correspondent Rob Harris is in Diogo Jota's home city of Porto tonight. And Rob, a city in mourning.
Yes, and still so much disbelief here in Gondomar, where into the night the locals are still outside the chapel where the bodies of Andre Silva and Diogo Jota do lie ahead of the funeral tomorrow. And so many have been reflecting on his life as they've watched so many of the famous names they know from the world of football come by. The Manchester United captain Bruno Fernandes has been here. He was with Jota on the pitch for Portugal just recently as they won the Nations League. Darwin Núñez, a Liverpool teammate here. We're expecting more members of the Red Squad to come here tomorrow for the funeral. The Portuguese president and prime minister also broke off from their duties to come here. They all wanted to be here, and that really shows just how much this has affected the nation. And far and wide, they are grieving Jota and his brother Andre, a family coping with the most unimaginable grief. And Ruth, who married Jota just 2 weeks ago, has been in the chapel sitting between the two caskets, They've been covered in flowers. A line of people going through all day, and through the evening the locals have been able to come in after the family had their own private time together. And back at Anfield today, the former captain Jordan Henderson has also been there to pay his tribute, and the Liverpool striker Mohamed Salah posted that he never thought he'd be frightened going back to Liverpool, but he said teammates come and go, but not like this. It's going to be extremely difficult to accept that Diogo will not be there when the season resumes. Tomorrow will be the chance for this community and the footballing world to bid farewell.
Rob, thank you. The former Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, says discussions are ongoing about forming a new political party. It comes after MP Zara Sultana announced she was quitting Labour to co-lead a new venture with Mr Corbyn. Let's take you live to Westminster now, and our chief political correspondent there, John Craig. And John, it seems somewhat that Zara Sultana jumped the gun yesterday.
That's the claim being made by allies of Mr Corbyn, who claim that he was rather frustrated that she spoke out when she did. Clearly, Mr Corbyn's not quite ready yet to make a full announcement on his plans. But he did break his silence earlier when he talked about how a year on from the general election, the Labour Party and Labour government has failed to deliver the change that people wanted. He congratulated Zara Sultana on what he called her principal decision to quit the Labour Party. And Mr Corbyn said this: the democratic foundations of a new kind of political party will soon take shape. He said that discussions are ongoing, and I am excited to work alongside all communities to fight for the future that people deserve. He went on to talk about creating something that's desperately missing from the broken political system. Hope, he said. Well, the response has been twofold. From Mr Corbyn's former allies in the Labour Party, going back to when he was leader, the senior allies like John McDonnell, who was his shadow chancellor, and Diane Abbott, who is his shadow Home Secretary, two of his closest political allies going back a few years, they have said that they do not want to join him in a breakaway party. Now, Mr McDonnell has told me that he wants to stay in the Labour Party. He wants to get the whip back, and he said that he was sorry to see Zara Sultana go. He said, I'm a Labour Party member, I've had the whip suspended, that's all, I expect to see it back. I'm remaining in the party. Diane Abbott said similar. So those two senior Corbyn allies not moving with him. However, different story from those independent MPs, those pro-Palestine, pro-Gaza MPs who were elected at the general election, in some cases defeating Labour MPs. Three of them, that is Iqbal Mohammed, he's Dewsbury and Batley MP, Ayub Khan, Birmingham Perry Barr, and Adnan Hussain, Blackburn, have publicly backed Mr Corbyn. It looks as though they will move with him. There has been talk of Mr Corbyn leading a group of independent MPs in Parliament. However, Labour's opponents are gloating, both Reform UK and also the Conservatives. Here's what Kemi Badenoch had to say about this Labour split.
I think this speaks to how much division there is in the Labour Party. They have a lot of people who are really student politicians, people who are campaigners who don't know how to govern, and they've come into a very difficult situation. Many countries in Europe and even the US are having to deal with a lot of things like global mass migration, lower growth. They don't have any answers. All they ever wanted to do was spend, spend, spend. And now they're leaving and creating factions and splinter groups because they don't know how to run the country. And we're only going to see more of this.
Well, tonight, Mr Corbyn has served notice that he intends to step up his attacks on Sir Keir Starmer and his government over policy on Israel and Gaza and the Middle East. Speaking at a rally, he attacked what he called the government blocking a public inquiry into the UK's complicity, he said, of genocide. And Mr Corbyn declared, this is not over. Nor is Mr Corbyn's career. At the age of 76, he's set to launch a new political party.
John, thank you very much for that update on that story. The first person to be charged with encouraging self-harm under the Online Safety Act has been jailed for more than 9 years. Tyler Webb, who's 23 years old and from Loughborough, tried to get a vulnerable woman to injure and then kill herself on a video call. Detective Constable Lauren Hampton was one of the officers who handled the case, and a warning that what follows contains distressing content.
Ultimately, one of the most serious things that I've ever dealt with in my policing career, and one of the most harrowing cases I've seen. He groomed the victim through several weeks of interactions to the point where she attempted to take her life and seriously self-harm because of his actions. I think he was motivated by sexual gratification for what was happening and wanted to see this victim in as much harm as possible. And that's what happened. She was seriously hurt from his actions and his communication with her online.
And if you've been affected by that story, you can contact the Samaritans at any time on 116 123 or email joe@samaritans.org. Lawyers for Palestine Action are at the Court of Appeal challenging a ban on the group, which is due to come into effect in hours. Earlier, there were protests outside the High Court, which refused to temporarily block Palestine Action from being designated as a terrorist group. Now, the group's lawyers are fighting that decision in the Court of Appeal. That decision is expected at any moment. The ban, which passed the Commons and Lords this week, is due to take effect at midnight. Donald Trump is expected to sign his so-called Big Beautiful Bill into law shortly. It includes sweeping tax cuts, reductions in healthcare and environmental spending, as well as an increase in budgets for mass deportations and a border wall. At least 45 people have been injured after an explosion at a petrol station in Rome. A truck is believed to have hit a gas pipe, with police saying 2 consecutive blasts occurred while emergency services were at the scene. 12 police officers and 6 firefighters are thought to be amongst those hurt. Almost 16 years since they last appeared on stage together, Liam and Noel Gallagher have begun their long-awaited Oasis reunion tour. The band took to the stage tonight at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff with a nod to their infamous breakup in their opening song, singing the lyrics, "It's good to be back." Now, that's an entertainment correspondent. Katie Spencer is in Cardiff for us. So, Katie, how was it?
It was incredible. I have to say, look, I'm not a massive Oasis fan, but tonight inside of there, they sounded absolutely brilliant. They sounded like they certainly are getting on in terms of their music. I think never before have the body language of two brothers been studied quite so intensely, but they came onto the stage tonight holding hands and they played their hearts out, and the crowd absolutely sung their hearts out. I think people are walking away tonight absolutely hoarse, absolutely sort of unable to get over what they've seen. I thought we'd just have a quick chat with Anna and Andy, who've just come out now. What did you make of it, guys?
Absolutely incredible.
It was amazing, yeah.
Authentic, pure thing you've ever seen. Unbelievable.
You could judge the really popular songs. Why I was down the front. You could judge them by the amount of beer that went up in the air. Did you get soaked?
I mean, they played all the bangers. I wasn't expecting them to, but they delivered.
Timing a trip to the bar and going to the loo was hard because every song's amazing. So it's the best thing ever.
For those that won't have been fortunate enough to get a ticket here tonight, I mean, was it worth the expense? What did they sound like in your eyes? They sounded very in tune, very tight.
As we were walking out, I think I literally heard someone behind me saying I'd have paid £10,000 to see them. So I think that says it all. And they made quite a few comments, didn't they? Like, was this worth your ticket price? And I think 100%. It was amazing. Well,
it's like I've teed you up, Anna, but we can just play for you now, actually, the moment that Liam on stage mentioned the whole sort of dynamic pricing for a little sort of reference to it.
What's happening? You all right? You having a good time, yeah? Was it worth the £40,000 you paid for the ticket?
the question is, do we think they're going to make it through the whole of the 41 runs? They look like they're getting on.
They look stronger than ever. What can I say?
We feel quite lucky they chose Cardiff as the first place, because I'm not so sure, but let's hope so.
They looked as good as ever.
Enjoy your night. Thank you so much for talking to us. And look, you can see people behind me. Oh, sorry, I'm just tripping over people on the floor. But you can see everyone coming out of the stadium now. There's various sort of people breaking into songs, enjoying themselves. Certainly Oasis tonight have absolutely delivered value for money. They might have been very expensive tickets for some people who didn't get sort of lucky in terms of the ones that they bought. But you can't dispute the fact that they delivered tonight. Absolutely.
Katie, thank you so much. We thought you might just break into a little bit of song there for us, but sadly not. Thank you. To Wimbledon now, and British #1 Emma Raducanu is out of the tournament after losing to the world #1 Aryna Sabalenka in the third round. The first set lasted a marathon 74 minutes. Twice Raducanu had a break of serve and twice Sabalenka fought back. The set went to a tie-break and the world #1 took it 8-6. Raducanu got an early break to lead 4-1 in the second set, but then back came Sabalenka again to win it 6-4 and secure her place in the last 16 of the tournament. Better news for the British #3, Sonia Cartel. She reached the fourth round with a straight sets win over Diane Parry of France. Cartel lost the opening 3 games, but then won the next 9 in a row on her way to a 6-3, 6-4 victory. The 23-year-old from Brighton was ranked 864th in the world 3 years ago, but is currently just outside the top 50. There's been success for Britain's Cameron Norrie in the men's draw. He reached the fourth round for the second time after a straight sets win over Italy's Mattia Bellucci. 7-6, 6-4, 6-3, the score. Well, that was Sky News at 10. Coming up, we'll take a first look at tomorrow's newspapers in the press preview. Tonight, we're joined by the political commentator Benedict Spence and the Guardian columnist Zoe Williams. Amongst the stories we'll be discussing, this on the front of the Mirror about tonight's historic Oasis comeback gig in Cardiff. The headline in true Oasis style, Mad Fairham. We'll be right back. It's Mad Fairham.